this movie was about.
Lights, camera, action is going down. For my ATL movies, when we run this town with your host, T-Will, yeah, keeping it real. From the A to the screen, you can feel the thrill. Rolling with the classics, we're setting the pace. Highlighting the magic of our soulful space. Got the vibe, got the crew, making it tight. When the screen lights up, everything feels right. Grab your popcorn, let's make it loud. T-Will, T-Will. It's movie time, ATL style. Stand proud. From the silver screen to the hearts we steal. T-Will, T-Will. Every frame we capture is a real deal. Yeah. Talking premieres where the stars align. ATL views, yeah, they really shine. Behind the lens, capture.
Well, Marvel fans, MCU fans, Avengers fans, Captain America and Iron Man fans, we have arrived at this day in time at Captain America Civil War, an event within the MCU that has sent shockwaves that here to continue to reverberate. It's your host T-Will and my guy, Mr. Jordan Burton. Jordan, how you doing this morning, sir? All well?
I'm doing fantastic. How you doing?
Doing pretty good, man. Doing pretty good. We're on a good run, man. So we had Deadpool last night, which was completely funny. And now we shift the tone a little bit and get to Captain America Civil War, which is not only I don't want to call it a cataclysmic event, but it's definitely an event that was very significant in Marvel Comics, and some would argue even more significant in the MCU. This movie was released in 2016 on April the 12th. Okay. Around the world, I'm sorry, May 16th in the US. And it was directed by the Russo brothers, who are just outstanding. Of course, your main cast is Chris Evans as Captain America, Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, Scarlett Johansson as Black Widow, Sebastian Stan as Winter Soldier, Anthony Mackie as Falcon, Don Cheadle as War Machine. We have an entrance, which is Chadwick Boseman as Black Panther, Paul Bettany as Vision, okay. Elizabeth Olsen is back as Scarlet Witch, Tom Holland as Spider-Man, and Daniel Bruhl as Baron Zemo. An all-star cast for an all-star movie. Jordan, I know you can't wait to get into this thing and dissect it, but just give me your overview right now for Captain America Civil War.
Man, I remember when I went to see this in theaters. There was two movies specifically within like a year. Was it within a year? You said 2016 this came out?
Yep.
Oh, that was the movie. When did Batman versus Superman come out? Because I'm pretty sure this came out on the same weekend, or it came out really close to this movie. Let's take a look. I know it was 2016. Yes, this came out around the same time. So
yeah.
Which bold strategy by DC to rush all that. So, all right, Civil War in the comics, huge storyline. This movie was originally going to be called Captain America and the Serpent Society, and at a Comic-Con event, which released, I had mentioned this in the Age of Ultron review, that at a Comic-Con event for Kevin Feige, he was looking up at this video has millions of views now. He's looking up at the screen of the timeline of movies and stuff. He was like, we have to do something about that title for Serpent Society. And that's when he revealed to the world that it was going to be called Captain America Civil War. And for those who don't know the comics, Civil War is one of the greatest storylines ever that pits the Marvel Universe against one another. There's multiple iterations of Civil War within the comics, so there's not really one specific thing that triggers Civil War. And there's multiple instances where you have large groups of Marvel characters fighting one another. We will probably get through that in Doomsday, within like the X-Men, the Avengers, and our mainline MCU. So when I heard this movie was coming out, I knew immediately that this was going to be one of the greatest Marvel movies ever. I was like, there's no way they fail this. And I had wondered how they're going to go about them fighting one another and stuff like that. This was a movie that I didn't want to see any teasers, anything. I watched the first trailer. That was it. And I went into this movie blinded, didn't know who was going to be in it. During that Comic-Con event, we had Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans come on stage and do this like sort of MMA style like face. And that's when it's introduced to the world. Chadwick Boseman walks on stage, and we find out that he is the new Black Panther. I remember finding out that I knew right away. I'm like, he's going to be an amazing Black Panther. Love Chadwick Boseman. I thought he was fantastic as Jackie Robinson in 42. Every other movie that I've seen him in was amazing. So when I knew he was going to be playing Black Panther, I knew he was going to give it his all. And then that first trailer that dropped, and we see Spider-Man jump in at the end and steal Captain America's shield and say, "Hey everyone." I knew we were in for a ride. I knew we were gonna be in for a special event. And that's what we delivered. And they stole the show from Batman vs Superman. So it was announced that Civil War was going to happen, and DC like rushed everything to get to a team-up movie so that they could compete with Civil War.
Right.
If you're a studio, never do that. It doesn't matter comics or not. Never try to compete with one another. Like that's why there's some issues with like why the heck is Avengers Doomsday and Dune 3 coming out the same day this year?
Right.
Like you pick and choose your battles.
Right.
So because you'll end up hurting either yourself or someone's going to get hurt. Very rarely do two movies become successful, like Barbenheimer. That is a very rare situation.
Right.
Like that was an event leading up to it. Everybody was like, "Oh, Barbenheimer with Barbie and Oppenheimer." I knew when I heard about this, I was like, "This is gonna be an amazing film." And when I saw this movie, it ended up being heartbreaking to me more than anything. I mean, I wasn't like emotional or crying or anything. I was just like,
it is heartbreaking. It is hard. It is.
It's like seeing two of your best friends fighting,
fall out with each other, right?
And you're like I remember watching this final battle, and I'm just like, this is like so heartbreaking right now. Like seeing these two characters that we've beloved, that we've seen grow up and stuff, and they were friends, and now they're fighting one another, and it's just it was heartbreaking. And yeah, the fallout from this we are still seeing in even the modern MCU. Like we get to Wonder Man is the most recent project in terms of the timeline. So I found out this morning Daredevil Born Again season 2 takes place before Wonder Man. So Wonder Man is the last project if you're watching sequentially. We're experiencing the fallout in Wonder Man. So like the impact of this movie and what happens is so immense, and I don't think we fully understand the impact of the movie itself, never mind just the impact to Marvel.
Right. That is very true, my friend. Speaking of success, it did about $1.15 billion with a B, Domestically, 408 million. Internationally, 745 million, which is, it feels like that should be flipped, but I guess it is what it is. But still, 1.15 billion with a B is still 1.15 billion with the B. That's a lot. That's a lot of cheddar, Jordan. So anyway, very successful movie, and obviously Marvel Studios was the creator. It was distributed by Walt Disney Studios. And yeah, so let's get into it. Movie starts and we see a flashback to 1991 where we see the Winter Soldier carrying out a mission that results in the assassination of Howard and Maria Stark. And then we see a moment, the last moment, captured on some sort of screen, and it's a very young Tony Stark interacting with his parents, and the AI system that he utilizes this is or capturing this is called Barf, which I thought was funny. He says, I need to work on the acronym, but I think it was funny. But Jordan, to be honest with you, in watching that, I kind of say to myself, is that really healthy, right? Because I watched a series on Primetime called Scarpetta, and I really enjoyed it. Okay, but one of the characters lost her wife, I guess, to cancer or something. And so she was a programmer. She created an AI program that basically interacted with her, and it was her wife's face and voice. So her parents, or her mom and her aunt, who they were all very close, were concerned that she wasn't moving on because she wasn't, all she did was interact with the AI and stay in a room all day. And I thought to myself, that's probably exactly what I'd do. Like if I could talk to my mom, if there was a program that I could talk to my mom and it would be her face and her voice, Jordan, I probably would never leave my room. I'd be putting off podcasts with you like, hey, Jordan, I'll be right back with you. So, Mom, what do you think about this? And, Jordan's a Saints fan. They suck, right? Yeah. And, just so you know, my mom would agree with me, Jordan. Anyway, the point is, I was kind of thinking that as I was watching it, but still, that's a great option for people who are grieving. So that's just kind of something that stood out to me. It's a personal note. Has no impact on the story, whatever. But again, we see the tone. And as he's reading the script, he sees on the script on the teleprompter, and now it's here for it's time for Pepper Potts or something like that. And he freezes a little bit and then just and says, all right, everybody, thanks for coming. And the assistants come out and say, oh, Mr. Stark, I apologize, blah, 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 blah. And we clearly see that they're going through some sort of breakup, or there's some sort of discord with their relationship. Anyway, he walks off into the hallway and he meets, I believe Alfre Woodard is the actress who plays the mom of the young man who was killed in Sokovia. And Jordan, I'd like to get your thoughts on this, right? So I didn't ask my wife. I'm going to. But Jordan, let me ask you this question. Let's say, and I don't want to be cavalier in this, but I'm very interested to hear your viewpoint on this because I know what mine is. And I don't want to be cavalier because my wife says I can be that way. So with that being said, we're, understand the context in which we're saying it. If we're superheroes, Jordan, and a global threat attacks this province, country, continent, or whatever, can we agree that there are going to be deaths whether we show up or not?
Yeah. Yes.
We can agree on that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I think, and I thank God I'm not in a position to experience this, but I think that what people do is when they lose someone, they look for someone to blame. Well, if the Avengers hadn't shown up, the Earth would not be here. the Earth would not be here. And of course, they don't understand that. They don't understand the scope of things. But if the Avengers had not shown up, it would have been categorically worse.
Yeah.
Those are my thoughts. I mean, look at, and again, I'm not trying to be crass. Jordan, if you make an omelet, you're gonna have to break a few eggs. When global threats show up, people are gonna die. Even without superheroes, when you have conflict between nations, people are gonna die. You get what I'm saying? So it's for me, the notion of, well, he would have been alive. No, you know what sealed his fate? When he went to Sokovia. When he decided to go to Sokovia instead of the Bahamas, his fate was sealed. But I'm gonna stop talking. Give me your thoughts on this.
All right, specifically the Sokovia one, I will disagree with. Just specifically that one. I do agree with your standpoint, but not that specific one. Only because, like we get to Age of Ultron, and we both mentioned this in Age of Ultron, that Tony created Ultron because of his fear. And he inherently put that whole situation in Sokovia. It all came down to him. It's not like the Battle of New York. Battle of New York, clearly, like, the Avengers saved them. Like, if the Avengers were not there, more people would have died. Like, it would have been awful.
Right.
I mean, you can look at the attack on DC. Like, Captain America saved a bunch of lives in doing this. Like if he wasn't there, more people would have died. Probably half the population, over half the population would have died if Captain America wasn't there. But yeah, specific, like Wanda, the whole situation at the beginning of this movie when Wanda's like trying to, like, what's his name? Bone. I forget what the heck is
Crossbones.
When Crossbones sets off the bomb.
Yeah.
And like Wanda's just trying to quickly like send him like anywhere. If she wasn't there, it would have killed not just Steve, but all the people surrounding them.
Correct.
So either way, that was going to kill people. Now, I'm sure there was people within a hospital, so there was, I mean, it was kind of hard to say, like, she's just trying to react in that moment.
Right.
So either way, people are going to die in that moment. But yeah, specifically the Sokovia one, I will say that was the Avengers' fault. That was specifically Tony's fault. And Banner's fault for even partaking in this, because Steve and Thor were both like, "Why you did something right?" Like they're like, "Are you joking right now? You're trying, like Steve said, you're trying to end a war before it starts."
Yeah.
And you just can't do that. So yeah, I for specifically that one, I will say that's the Avengers' fault.
All right. Well, let's get to it. In the present day, the Avengers are operating as a global response team, stepping in to stop threats as they escalate during a mission in Lagos, as they are taking on the aforementioned Crossbones and his team. Crossbones. Now, what I will say is it is partially Captain America's fault, because Captain America has a sensitive area when it comes to Bucky. And Crossbones uses this by saying, your guy, he mentioned your name. He got all weepy about it. I got to take a step back, because, again, the one thing I love about the Russo brothers, the dialogue is outstanding. And so I forget who says it, but somebody was like, "Yeah, Wanda, you sound a little paranoid. Has anybody ever told you that?" And she goes, "Not to my face. Why? Did you hear something?" And the way she said it is kind of like, I dare you to say it. I dare you to say what you know what I mean? Wanda, let me tell you something. Wanda in this movie makes a transition to Mama Bear. And
Wanda or Natasha?
I'm sorry, Natasha.
Okay, yeah.
I'm sorry. Thank you. Natasha is the one that's like, no, not to my face, because they're giving Wanda some advice on, you need to keep your always keep your eyes in your back, or always keep your wits about you, or something like that. And then I think, I don't know if it was Falcon that was like, people say you're paranoid. Anybody ever tell you that? And she's like, not to my face. Why, you hear something? And it's like she's daring him to do it. But Natasha takes a step from, it really feels like in this film, from assassin to Mama Bear, because everything that she does in this movie and going forward is for the protection of the Avengers, not a country, not a continent, the Avengers. She, if you want to know the truth, is the glue that holds them together. And it starts in this film. But anyway, I love this movie, Jordan. So I apologize I'm gonna try and keep my rants to a minimum. But anyway, Crossbones distracts Cap, and then he's like, he said, when you gotta go, and I'm gonna take you with me. And he sets off the bomb, and Cap is just, it's too late because he set it off, and Wanda stops it. But she's in such shock, and she wasn't prepared for it, that in her trying to dispose of Crossbones and the explosion, she sets it loose on the hospital that they're in front of, killing a bunch of folks. And this, of course, to go along with what happened with Avengers Age of Ultron, to go along with New York, to go along with Sokovia, begins a ripple effect. And governments start to talk about, we got to get control of this. Now, in the background, I do not think that General Ross, if we're being honest, Jordan, I don't think he cares about lives being lost. I just don't. I think General Ross is doing this because he wants control of the Avengers.
Yeah.
Like many governments. And look, if this happened in real life, that's exactly what would happen. That's exactly what would happen. And this is the beef between Captain America, but we'll get into it. But this is how it starts. So anyway, in response to the Lagos incident, governments around the world introduced the Sokovia Accords, in which the Avengers would answer to the United Nations. And this sparks a debate. And I'm not going to call this one a passionate debate yet, but a debate between Tony and Cap and et al., right? And Cap's point is, if we sign this, we're giving away our right to control where we go and what we do. And he says, what if they want us to do something or send us a place that we don't want to go, or that we shouldn't go? Or what if they send us to a place, and because we're there, we can't go where we're really needed? The safest hands are in ours, right? And a lot of times what people will do is they will take a situation. They really want to take control of it, but they wait for a situation to manipulate the masses into getting their way. And this is what General Ross, make no mistake about it, General Ross is not a warm and cuddly person. He's not a nice guy at all. He wants control. He wants power. This has nothing to do with the lives of Sokovia or anything like that. That's ultimately what he wants. And what Cap is saying is agendas change. Because you got to think about it. Cap's 100 years old. And even though he was frozen for 70, okay, he's got a certain amount of wisdom that he can, lean on and say, I've seen this before. Agendas and governments change. Moods change. Attitude towards behaviors change. Right? Anyway, give me your thoughts on it. Give me your thoughts on just an overview. Who's right? Who's wrong here? As far as Should they capitulate and sign the accords, or should they not?
And this is probably the greatest debate within the Marvel universe. It is one that to this day people still talk about. But the more time goes, the more it leans to one side. And I've been Team Cap all from the get-go, from watching this. Now, people were picking sides before going into this movie, and I'm like, it's not about whether I don't want like Captain America to beat Iron Man or Iron Man to beat Captain America. So I never picked a side going into the movie. I wanted to see the movie. I wanted to get the viewpoints of both, and I think this is a very valid argument in that there's going to be certain instances like Tony should have been kept in check with Age of Ultron. Like, if he was kept in check, that would have never happened. And Sokovia would have never happened. None of that would have happened. But then there's instances where I will say I think the government was semi-involved in terms of S.H.I.E.L.D. Getting the Avengers together for the Battle of New York. Not for specifically the Battle of New York, but all the lead up to that got the Avengers together. But the Avengers themselves getting together for the Battle of New York was against government or S.H.I.E.L.D. protocols. Like, they were originally going to just nuke New York. And the Avengers stepped in and saved the day. So there's going to be places that the Avengers should go that they're going to be needed. That, I mean, maybe because of lost paperwork, the government's going to be like, oh, you're going to have to wait a little bit, or like, no, you can't go. Or there's going to be, like you said, places they're forced to go that they don't want to go. So,
or shouldn't go, right? Or shouldn't go, because
like, you look at Infinity War, even like. Are you going to tell me that they're going to wait on the government to show up for the Tony and Doctor Strange and Spider-Man all to go to space?
Yep.
For like all of them to go to Wakanda? Like, no, it didn't make any sense to me. I knew I understand the viewpoint. And I understand both sides that, yes, there's certain instances where they need to be kept in check. But Tony, and this is where Tony is inherently not the villain, but the antagonist in this film, because his own insecurities are why he's siding the way he's siding.
Absolutely. His guilt. Yes.
And
correct.
Look, I'll go character by character. Why? Like, I mean, we all know Iron Man and Captain America's standpoints and why they're on those sides. But look, like, I understand Rhodey. Rhodey is a full-on, like, he believes in the government. He believes what the government's doing is right.
He's an officer.
Yes.
He's an officer in the military, in the Air Force.
And he goes and he's like, hey, Thunderbolt Ross has more congressional honors. I'm like, shut up, Rhodey. That's the most arrogant thing you could have said, bringing up medals of honor. Shut up, bro.
You know what's funny? When he's talking to Falcon and he goes, 119 governments have already signed this, and you're like, oh, that's good. Oh, yeah, whatever. And just the way he says it, watching them debate was hilarious. But that was, I agree. But go ahead. Go ahead.
But like Rhodey got so arrogant in that moment, and that was like the one time where I'm like, I didn't like Rhodey. Because I'm like, what does this have anything to do with this argument right now? Like, you're just like rage baiting Sam right now, and Sam's Sam's like bringing this up like Sam's basically in the same viewpoint as Steve right now.
Right, because honestly, Steve and Sam think a lot alike.
Yes.
At his core, Steve and Sam are the same. So they even say this, or they hint at it a lot in this movie and Avengers, and it's a common theme. But he says it anyway. go ahead. I don't want to cut off your train of thought. Go ahead.
Then you get into like, all right, Wanda's really young and she just doesn't, I don't think she knows what side to go on. And so I think she can easily be influenced on either side. But it seems like as the movie goes on, it's like she doesn't want to be locked away. And that's kind of what Tony wants. Because Tony doesn't quite understand her. And it's very apparent that Steve is very caring for everyone and he's very understanding. I mean, when she's sitting in her bed and looking at the TV, and Steve just comes and sits down to talk to her, like that's something Tony never did. Tony just like locked her away without even saying anything. And Vision is an AI, so like he's looking at the logistics. And look, he brings up that ever since Tony came out to say that he is Iron Man, that the amount of global attacks has increased. And I'm like, yeah, but how many of them were why Tony came out as Iron Man? I can bring up stats that show that the Cleveland Browns are the greatest NFL franchise of all time. Like, that's the most bogus. I'm like, you're an AI, bro. That's the dumbest thing you could have said. Like, like honestly, it made no sense whatsoever. But in this movie, Vision
he does say our very strength invites challenge. Challenge incites conflict. And conflict breeds catastrophe. And I agree with you. You know, you can be right in an instant, but be wrong in an hour, if that makes sense.
Yes.
You get what I'm saying? Yeah. You can be right for this moment right here, but contextually, if we extrapolate that over a day, you are completely wrong. And I think at least I agree with you in this instance. No, because the Chitauri were coming to New York whether Tony Stark was doing that or not. Yep. So anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And Vision has a great character arc in this because even though he is an AI, he becomes more human in this because he shows his flaws.
Right.
And that's what makes his growth and his like failures in this end up seeing the growth in Infinity War, and going forward, and we see the love that him and Wanda have. And then there's Black Widow. Black Widow honestly was the biggest wild card for me. That like I was very shocked she was on the side of Tony, when I had first seen this movie.
Was she?
So she switches sides in this. So initially she agrees that like, yes, she wants to, because of her past experiences, she does want to be held in check. And I understand that. Like she's seen the way the governments she's seen what she's done. And I think from that she's been like, okay, there could be other people like me, so maybe we should be held in check. But then she comes to realize in talking with I love her character in this. I think this movie, I see the most growth in Natasha that I've seen in a while, which is great when you follow this up, and we'll be reviewing Black Widow tomorrow. Because I fully love this character and her character arc in this movie. And I think the Russo brothers nailed how to do Natasha, and you don't need to just like sexualize her all the time. Like I think she is she's a great character arc in this movie. Yeah. But she understands. I think I think she was leaning both ways. I think she had been contemplating. I mean, even Tony even brought it up initially. He's like, oh really? You are on our side? And she's like, oh, you're gonna make me change my mind. He's like,
right.
I think she was already floating both ways to be like, I don't really know.
I don't think she changed sides. I think and this is the point I was making. I think she was on the side of the Avengers. See, here's the thing that she says, and this is why I feel that way. She says it's better to steer it with one hand because you can control it, right? She's talking about the narrative there. I don't think she was ever gonna agree to have any Avenger locked up, right? I think she's doing this to appear on the side of world governments, but really she's trying to wait for Cap and Tony to work this out. I think I think in this, I think in the and it's genius by the Russo brothers, because I really feel like her character arc is from femme fatale, from sexy assassin, to really the glue that holds the Avengers together. Yes. You can say Cap is the leader, Tony is king of resources, but let me tell you something, man. Natasha's Mama Bear, okay? She rules that. She really is the one that keeps these guys together. She goes to the funeral. She didn't have to go to the funeral, but she goes to support Cap. Even when she talks to him, he's like, you think I should? She's like, no. She's like, so you're saying they'll arrest me? Well, no, I won't, but they may. Somebody will. But she's still talking to all sides. She's keeping them together. So I don't think she ever really, and Tony doesn't get that when he's having the conversation with him, which is why she says, you know, if you get your head out of your ass, or what did she say? Your ego. She's like, you can't control your damn ego. Mm-hmm. But really look at this and look at what's going on, and you'll see. And it's this interaction between them is necessary because Tony needs to get that out. But she also is telling him, look, I'm trying to keep the Avengers together. God, this was a great movie. This was a great movie because if ever there were an Avengers team, I could tell you this would happen. Mm-hmm. I could tell you this would. Even if they didn't do anything, governments would make up something so that they could get control. Think about it. You got a government that has an Avengers. They'd be unrivaled. Who could beat them, right? Mm-hmm. Which is and it's another reason Cap doesn't come out and say this, but he's really saying there's certain conflicts we should stay out of. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Anyway,
another aspect I want to touch on the other characters that end up joining later on too, and their opinions. Hawkeye, for example. Hawkeye just wants to be left alone, honestly. He just wants to stay retired and join when he needs to, which would be the side of Captain America. It would make the most sense to be the side of Captain America. He doesn't want the government to be like, hey, we need you now. And like, he's just like, no, dude, like, I don't want to do this.
Right.
So he is clearly side Captain America. Right. Ant-Man is full on, like, is very abundantly clear. He's used to being like in jail and stuff like that, and going wherever he needs to go. Even though he's not going to follow the government or the police. So it makes total sense. Ant-Man's team Cap. Spider-Man, I think it's because Peter's so young. I mean, we're introduced to Peter. He's probably like, 15, 16, 15, 14, probably 14 in this movie. And, who really... I think he would have been easily influenced. If Steve went in there, he would have been easily influenced. I think if Tony went in there, he would have been easily influenced. So, but in hindsight, if you asked Peter today in like Brand New Day, Peter Parker, I think he would have been team Captain America. I think if all the events of Civil War happened right now, he would be team Captain America. I think just Peter is a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. He wants to go where he can help people and he doesn't want to follow anyone else's government protocols. And even in the comics, the biggest part of the comics is that Peter is side Tony at first, and because he's side Tony, he has to reveal his identity to the world, and he realizes how much of a mistake that was, and goes to Captain America's side.
Right.
So, I think very clearly it's just Peter was young.
Thank you for bringing that up. Do me a favor, share that with our audience, because, well, I'll do it, but a big contention point, or a big bone of contention with the Accords, is that they had to release their identities. And the problem with that is, if you do that now, other people can get to you, because they don't have to get to you, they can get to your family.
Yep.
Okay, which is insane. Like, if I choose to do that, look, Tony lives out loud.
Yep.
So if Tony chooses to do that, good for Tony. Thor, you can't really hide it. Okay? Captain America, that's fine. But not everybody is set up to do that. Not everybody, if a villain knows where your mother or your wife or your kid, that's leverage.
Mm-hmm.
You get what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
Again, it's kind of like you can't. I agree with that, and I've forgotten about that. So thank you for reminding us of that. Go ahead. I'm sorry. You were wrong. Me to cut you off.
No problem. Peter, in my opinion, would have been side Captain America if he had more knowledge and was like grown, and he had experienced some things and actually like read into this, because I think Peter's very smart, like very intelligent, but he doesn't have the experience yet. He still needs to get older and learn more about life.
And he's adorable. The first time we meet Peter, he's adorable. He really is your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. He is Peter Parker, friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, kid going to school, just trying to be a friendly neighborhood hero and help guys out. To me, and no disrespect to any Spider-Man who's come before this, but this is Spider-Man in his purest element, in my opinion. Again, I could be wrong, but this is just pure. He's freaking adorable. And when I say adorable, I mean from the standpoint of, oh, Mr. Stark, that's exactly how, to your point, 15, 16-year-old Peter would be. That's exactly how he would respond. And of course, Mr. Stark is like dad to him, because he really doesn't have a dad, right?
Yeah.
So Uncle Ben is gone. Tony Stark is bigger than life, right? So I agree with you in that standpoint, but to your point, if it was today, I absolutely agree with you in that, no, he would be Team Cap, especially with the events of Spider-Man No Way Home. We don't have to tell people that. He 100% would be with Cap.
Now, the events of Far From Home would have been in line with Tony, because S.H.I.E.L.D. was there to be like, hey, Samuel L. Jackson was literally there telling him about the whole thing. Now, Peter, by the end of the movie, was going against S.H.I.E.L.D.'s word and stuff like that, saying Mysterio is a bad person. So that's where the transition happens. He would have been Team Iron Man up to midway through Far From Home.
Yeah.
But another aspect I will look at before I get into Black Panther, the last character to look at, I'll touch on Spider-Man in general, because we're getting introduced to Spider-Man in this movie, in this timeline.
Spider-Man, MCU Spider-Man.
Yes. We've already reviewed all three Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies. We've reviewed both of Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man movies, but those are both in their own separate universes, and we finally get introduced to Peter Parker. Well, all right. Not finally introduced technically. Peter did show up in Iron Man 2, and Kevin Feige's pointed this out that in the final battle, there's a little kid with the Iron Man mask in front of one of Hammer's bots, and Tony comes in and shoots the bot, and Tony's like, "Thanks, kid." We find out that is in fact Peter Parker. That I don't know why they did that.
Know that.
I don't know why they said that. They said that in hindsight, like when Civil War came out, people were pointing out like, "Oh, what if that was Peter Parker?" And Kevin Feige's like, "Yeah, that is." Like, okay, bud. I'm sure you thought about that back in 2010. I'm sure you thought about that, bud. Yeah, okay. Whatever. That's why in Deadpool and Wolverine, when you see Deadpool with Happy Hogan, and Happy's talking, and you see like pictures of Tony, pictures of Cap, and you see the helmet of Iron Man. That specific helmet is one of those like fake helmets that you get at, like, Disney World, because it's the same one that Peter had. And they couldn't show Peter's face in this because it would have been technically a movie that Tom Holland would have signed off for, and he would have gotten royalties for that, and Sony would have also. So that's why they didn't show his face in it. But we're introduced. Andrew Garfield got recasted. It was to a point that like Sony was bankrupt. Or not bankrupt. Sony was losing money over a completely separate film that came out a couple years earlier than this. I don't remember. I don't know specifically what movie it was, but they put so much money and time into this, and they needed money fast. So Kevin Feige for years have been trying to talk with Sony about like trying to get Peter Parker and Spider-Man into the MCU and working together. But because this one movie, I don't remember what the film was. It was not any relation to Marvel whatsoever. It was just a Sony project. And because that failed, they were like, all right, fine. And they talked with Kevin Feige, they talked with Disney, and they made the agreement of having Peter Parker's Spider-Man show up and be in the movies, and any solo films Sony would produce, but part of the contract was having an Avenger in every movie. That's why in Spider-Man, any sort of original Avenger in the movie. That's why in Spider-Man Homecoming you have Iron Man, Spider-Man Far From Home you have Samuel L. Jackson's Nick Fury, and in Spider-Man No Way Home we have Doctor Strange, who's technically an Avenger. You need an Avengers character. And then in Spider-Man Brand New Day, we have the Hulk showing. That's part of the contract. I don't like that part of the contract because I'm like, I don't want to see these. I want to just see him by himself sometimes, which we've not, and I don't know if we will. Then part of the contract is like being in Avengers movies. Not into many side movies. Like Captain America Civil War was a very rare instance and part of the contract. If they have certain movies where he needs to be in, like, and you need to specify that in the contract. That's why a lot of people are wondering, is Spider-Man going to show up in Daredevil Born Again Season 2? And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
That is a huge part of the contract. They're like, Disney would lose money by doing a lot of money. It's not worth it at all.
Right.
Because not everyone has Disney Plus to watch these shows.
Right.
There's a lot of Marvel fans that have not watched WandaVision or Loki or any of this, and they're just watching the movies.
Right.
So yeah, Andrew Garfield got recasted. They canceled all plans of a Sinister Six spin-off movie. The Amazing Spider-Man 3, just all of that was canceled. They started off refresh, reboot, and we got Tom Holland casted as Spider-Man. Another actor that was in line to play Peter during this time was Timothée Chalamet. Another one was I forget what his name is. He was in Percy Jackson, Lightning Thief. He's a main character. He's the main guy who plays Percy Jackson in that movie. So, yeah, Tom Holland got casted. When I heard he got casted, I was like, I don't know who this dude is. I'm glad because I don't want anybody. I want a no name to play him, and we got him. So, I mean, Tom Holland's been great. Tom Holland's been great as Peter Parker. When we get into Brand New Day, that's when it was a turning point for me. But getting into, we'll get back to the characters. Black Panther, last one. I don't think Black Panther was picking and choosing sides necessarily. I think it was more for revenge for his father, and we see that character arc throughout this movie that he's like, it doesn't matter what side, what they could have flip flopped like viewpoints between Steve and Tony, and Black Panther would have been opposed of Winter Soldier either way.
Yeah. And you know what encapsulates that when Hawkeye and Black Panther are about to fight, and he goes, "I'm Clint, by the way," and Black Panther,
I don't care.
I don't care.
I love his little dialogue. There's little dialogue that he has throughout this movie that I'm like, you're actually really fun. That's Chadwick Boseman. Chadwick Boseman, just the way he delivers some lines, I'm like, you're really funny, bro.
He was hilarious in this, bro. But when he did that, and then when Natasha is waiting for him to get to his car when they're getting ready to go look for Winter Soldier, and one of the ladies, I forget the guard, what the guards of Wakanda, the lady, I can't think of their names, but she and Wanda kind of have this stare off where she's like, move, and Wanda doesn't even respond to her, like, whatever. And Black Panther goes, as entertaining as this would be.
That's so great.
I got stuff to do, right? It's funny the way it's like, that would, because it would be a good fight. It would be a very good fight. They are both very prodigious fighters. That would be entertaining. But he goes, as entertaining as that would be, ladies. What's up, Wanda? So I agree with you. And go ahead.
The one last thing about Black Panther specifically, because this is our first introduction to a live action Black Panther, and I love the costume. I've always been a huge Black Panther fan. I like, he has been in my top 5 superheroes well before Chadwick Boseman. And Chadwick Boseman playing him, that just only confirms everything. Black Panther is, I'd say he's my second favorite superhero behind Spider-Man, but there's a huge gap between Spider-Man and just everybody else. But I would say Black Panther's, I've always thought Black Panther's been really cool. But then Chadwick Boseman getting into the role of Black Panther, that was perfect casting. He's one of my favorite actors ever. And I mean, initially the Russo brothers wanted a British accent for Black Panther because of like colonization and stuff like that. It would have been more accurate to the region and stuff like that. And Chadwick Boseman's like, nah, we're going with the African dialect, and I love it. I love that. That makes it, and he does have a really good dialect, and he stays in that voice even off camera. Like, there's some bloopers that he has in like this movie, in the Black Panther movie, where he stays in where everybody's laughing and stuff, and he's talking to the actors and the directors and stuff in the accent.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you know what Chadwick Boseman actually sounds like, he sounds nothing like that, but I think he does do the accent really well. And I love the costume. In my opinion, this costume is the best Black Panther costume that he's had. I don't care for the I don't care for any nanotech. I've never seen a nanotech suit that I'm like, yeah, I really love that. Like, I haven't seen it at all with Black Panther, with Iron Man, with Captain America, with Ant-Man. I'm just like, I haven't seen any of them. And
so let me ask you this: if you're a superhero, you're not rocking the nanotech, because nanotech is convenient.
No, it makes sense. It's like,
convenient.
convenience, yes, it's convenient. And like, if I'm a superhero, I'm of course gonna use it. But I'm just looking at it from an aesthetic standpoint. That I'm
Yeah.
like that first costume that he had in this movie is just so sick. And
Oh, it was
when
dope.
he
I mean,
first
it was dope.
takes
Yeah.
off the helmet, and I'm just like, dude, this costume's really cool. Like they nailed that. They nailed Peter's suit. I think I wasn't the biggest fan of Peter's suit in this when I initially saw it, but I was like, you know what, it'll grow on me. It did. I think it's a nice suit. I just don't like black too much on the suit. I think there was just added like it's the same way that 2000s NFL uniforms looked, where they just added a bunch of just like, look at this jersey. Like, why do we need some of this?
No, I don't want to.
Why-
No, I don't. No, I don't want to look at the jersey.
Like, but look,
No.
look at the red. There's a red stripe. Why is this there?
No.
All right, even the Falcons. Let's point at the
There
Falcons.
you go.
The Falcons
There you
black.
go.
Like they have it very similar to this, where it was like a black and red just lines.
That were
And I'm
just
like,
there.
why is that there?
Right.
And
Right. Right.
I think the MCU did that with a lot of their suits. One of them being Spider-Man, which I'm glad in Brand New Day we actually got a authentic straight from the comic suit without any additional lineage. I don't know why the 2000s did that with NFL uniforms. I don't know why the 2010s did that with Marvel movies, but they did that. And but I still like the suit. I mean, I do like Toby's suits more. I like Andrew's second suit more, not the first one. But I like the Brand New Day suit that we're getting. That's probably going to be my favorite. That's my favorite costume that I've seen so far. But yeah, that's everything in terms of like each of the individual characters and like their opinions and like what made sense. I think they all made sense for where they needed to be, really.
Yeah. Again, with Tony, you're looking at guilt. You're looking at guilt, obviously, behind Ultron, and the fact that if he doesn't create Ultron, it doesn't happen. And sometimes people can take advantage of that, and I think that is a little of what's going on. I'm 100% Team Cap, and I am Team Cap because I have seen governments change their viewpoint.
Yes.
And agendas change. And I do not think that a group of superheroes should be beholden to the whims of man. You know what I mean? I mean, look, if aliens come here and attack us, by all means, Avengers, defend us. But because this country has a tariff on this country, that has nothing to do with them. That is not. You guys should work that out, right? You guys should work that out. So I agree. I'm Team Cap with this, but it is an interesting arc because we begin to see, again with Winter Soldier, he fell out with SHIELD, and we're starting to see in this that he's falling out with the government in general. Okay, because agendas change, because and this is what got to me when they arrested them, and the lines in this movie are phenomenal when War Machine shows up and says, "Congratulations, Cap, you're a criminal." He said, "You're a criminal." This is the way he said it, was like he was so disappointed, and it's like, people judge you when they don't understand. But anyway, they took Captain America's shield, and I'm like, what do you mean it belongs to you? And which technically it does, but to me that's just pettiness.
Okay, we're going through something similar to the Shield right now with the U.S. Olympic men's team. So you know how there was the overtime goal for the U.S. to beat Canada in men's hockey. We won 2-1, and the puck, the the puck that ended up being the game winner, the guy who scored it wanted to get the puck back, and it's in the Hockey Hall of Fame, and the Hockey Hall of Fame's like, it was never yours to begin with.
Right.
And I'm like, all right, yeah. I mean, that's one side where I'm like, technically that shield was never yours.
Right.
Now I will say there's been a lot of time he's had with that shield, so it's not like
70 years.
I do, yeah. It would be like the guy who scored it having the puck, and then the Hall of Fame coming in and taking it
70 years later.
Like the guy never had the puck to begin with, so he shouldn't get it back.
Yeah. I just think it's petty.
Yeah,
I think it's petty. I think, look, Captain America is for me, Captain America is the standard because he's non-wavering. He's committed. His state of right and wrong doesn't change. It doesn't change with the times. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What's right in 1950 may not be right in 2026. Cap is non-wavering. And you need people like that. Not everybody, but you need a person like that that's going to be like, look, if it's right today, it's the same thing. It's got to be right tomorrow. You need consistency. And that's what Cap is. But anyway, his arc to me is we begin to see him get disillusioned or disenchanted, I should say, with the government in general. Because, again, in Winter Soldier, it was S.H.I.E.L.D. But now he's like, it's the same thing if you apply it to all the governments across the world. They just want power. They just want control. At the end of the day, this is about control. If you think that they care because these citizens died, they don't. It's about control. They want to use this as a ruse to gain control. That's all this is about. And we really begin to see Cap take really the pathway to Nomad is to me what he's on, because he's like, you know what? I don't agree with any of you folks. I don't, you know what I mean? Anyway, we got to get back to the storyline. I loved it. I could talk all day about that. So as tensions rise, a bombing at the UN kills King T'Chaka of Wakanda, and Bucky Barnes is framed for the attack. This pulls T'Challa into the story, driven by revenge against the man he believes killed his father. Meanwhile, Steve refuses to believe that Bucky is responsible and sets out to protect him. This creates a direct conflict between Steve and the authorities. It also shows how personal relationships influence decisions. Steve is willing to go against the world for Bucky, and he is. You know what I mean? Now, let me tell you something. If ever there was a friend, I want my friend to be Captain America, okay? Because like he said, to the end of the line, man. To the end of the line, buddy. I'm with you to the end of the line. And he meant it, right? But again, we get introduced to T'Challa and King T'Chaka. And you know what else I want to talk about? Let's talk about the commands itself for Winter Soldier. So do you know what they are? Because I jotted them down here. But they are in Russian: longing, rusted, 17, daybreak, furnace, 9, B9, homecoming, 1, and freight car. I have no idea what that means, but if you say them together, you activate the Winter Soldier. What gives, man? Give me your thoughts on that. Like, what's up?
I mean, I've tried my best over the years to see if there's any sort of like reasoning behind those, but it's literally just random words
any
that they
cipher?
picked. Yes, it's the most random words that you could come up with because because nobody's going to think to say any of those words in that specific order ever. So they needed to be random. It
Right.
couldn't be like a specific phrase that's
Go get some cheese.
I like I like boxes of chocolate. Like
Right.
you can't really do
Right.
that.
Because then you
Um,
got the Amazon driver activating the Winter Soldier. I got you.
yes. One thing I will say about uh T'Challa and King T'Chaka, I already like seeing them two on screen. I was just like, oh, I really like their dynamic. And then he dies, and T'Challa gives one of the greatest lines that I have ever heard. In turn, when he says, "In my culture, death is not the end. Uh, it's more of a stepping off point."
Right.
Um, you reach out with both hands, and Bast is the god of the Black Panthers, and they and Sekhmet,
Yeah.
they lead you into a green veld where you can run forever.
Right.
And I'm and then uh and I remember Natasha's like that was beautiful, and he's like, my father thought the same, but I'm not. And then he puts on the ring and says, but I'm not my father. I was like, oh, this guy wants revenge. I was like, I love this. I was on the edge of my seat because it's such a beautiful line he says, and it just turns because it's like, yeah, that was what my dad believed in, but I'm not my
Yeah.
father.
I'm
And
not.
I'm like, oh man,
Well,
oh,
even
I love this.
even the interaction between the two before he makes his speech, he says, he says something. I think he says to Natasha, two people can accomplish anything in a room, can accomplish something in a room more so than 50 people. And King T'Chaka says, unless you're moving a piano.
Yes.
And then he says to his son, you say you don't like, what did he say? Democracy, but you're getting better at it. And then he says, thank you to his son. And his son kisses his hand and says, thank you. And that's the last interaction they have. I just thought that was a beautiful moment. That it showed the respect that he had for his dad, and the love that, the father had for his son. You know what I mean? It's a perfect father-son moment there.
I knew he was gonna die as soon as I saw him like hold his face. I was like, you're gonna do this. I was like, I didn't think they were gonna kill him off then. I thought they were gonna kill him off in Black Panther.
Right.
But
Right.
because I mean, there was Black Panther movie was already confirmed to this point. But like, I was like, all right, I don't think they're gonna kill him off in this, and they just do it right away. I'm like, all right, we're gonna get there. Okay.
Yeah. So obviously, the explosion happens, people die, and now they are really, really, really looking for Bucky. And Cap calls Natasha, and he's like, should I show up? And she's like, no, don't. They're going to arrest you. And he's already there, and she knows it because she hears the police sirens while she's having the conversation with Cap, and she hears that they're in the same location. But she doesn't come looking for him again. She's being Mama Bear. But, again, we get into the scene where they want to pick up Bucky. And one of the greatest action scenes in any movie is when Cap goes to see Bucky and they have this dialogue. And he's like, why'd you, he's like, who am I? And he's like, you're Steve. And he's like, do you know who I am? And he was like, why'd you save me? He was like, I don't know. And he was like, Bucky, these guys will be here in a minute. I think you're lying. Because he's really trying to see, okay, who's driving the car here, Bucky? Is it you or is it Assassin you? And what's going on? And the problem is they really don't have time because, Falcon is in Cap's ear like, they're a minute away. They're 30 seconds away. They're on the roof. I got to go. They're 5 seconds. And then they breach, and we really get to see just how prodigious and how skilled Captain America and Bucky are, because they take out these guys who are coming to kill them, and not one of them is killed. Which is sounds like it's easy, but when you got guys showing up with machine guns, it's very difficult to not kill them and stop them and not get shot at the same time. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I like that. I like the choreography in this. Really like that. There's in part of the scene, I guess Bucky throws one of the guys over the steps and over the there's a rail and steps, and I guess Bucky's just throwing him out of the way, and Cap catches him, and he's like, come on, Buck, come on, man, what are you doing? We're not trying to kill him here. And but the choreography is great. Buck gets away, runs through an apartment, through a passage, out the window, descends onto a roof, and enter Black Panther. And we got Bucky, we got Black Panther, round one fight. And they get it on, Jordan. They get it on. I love it. I'm a fan of it. They're getting after it. And all of a sudden Cap sees, and Cap is now jumping down into the fray. And Falcon is like, Cap, who's the other guy? And Cap's like, I don't know. I'm just going down there to see. And so now they're taking on Black Panther, and they're doing this while Bucky is trying to get away. So he's not really trying to stay and fight. He's just trying to get away because he understands that, number one, T'Challa's father's dead, because this is a different fight if Bucky's fighting to fight. You get what I'm saying? I'm not saying who would win, but you can clearly see Bucky's not trying to fight. Bucky's trying to fight to get away. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And the chase continues. Just what a scene, man. Phenomenal scene. Anyway, Bucky ends up on the highway. He takes somebody's motorcycle and he's speeding through the bridge or the underbridge or whatever this structure is. And then we see Captain America running and Black Panther running, and they're both fast, and Cap takes somebody's car, and Black Panther jumps on the roof of the car for a ride. Anyway, Cap ends up crashing, hops out of the car. During the crash, I believe Black Panther is catapulted onto Bucky's back, knocking him off of the bike. And then the fight ends, and they're all looking at each other. And War Machine shows up and is like, stand down. Stand down. And it's like dope. And then he takes his mask off and he's like, congratulations, Cap. You're a criminal. And I guess whatever nation they were, I don't know if they were in Switzerland. I don't know, Germany. I think they're in Germany. I don't know where they are.
I think they were in Berlin.
They're in Berlin. Okay.
Yeah.
And they show up and arrest them. And then I forget this guy's name. What is his name? I think I made a note of it. What is his name? Everett Ross shows up. He's like, we want a lawyer. And he's like, yeah, right. He's like, we're going to take those. We're going to take the shield and your wings, and you'll get a receipt for them. And Falcon says, I better not see anybody wearing these flying around out here. Anyway, give me your thoughts on this scene. Give me your thoughts on it.
I love when they're in the car driving to the jail or prison or whatever, and T'Challa's in the front seat, and Steve and Sam are in the back, and Sam's like, so you like cats? And
then Steve was like, Sam is like, what? You don't want to know? The guy like, yeah. It was funny. It was funny.
It was funny. Again, simple stuff, simple lines like that, and like even when T'Challa is angry, that's when I'm like, yeah, this guy is great, because he says something along the lines of like how long are you going to keep me from your friend or something like that, and I'm like, oh ho, 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 ho,
He, I think he
this
says,
guy.
"How long do you think you can? How long do you think you can keep me from your friend?"
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Um,
yeah. I'm sorry. Go
this
ahead.
whole scene is this whole chase scene is fantastic. We get, I mean, we get the full extent of like of T'Challa and Black Panther, and like when he scratches the shield, that's when we're like, oh, because this is made of vibranium. Everybody's like vibranium, 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 and then
Yeah.
he scratches the shield, and we're like, oh no. We're like, oh, this dude's nails are crazy sharp, and
Can
yeah,
you imagine if he hit you with that? That'd tear all of this off.
yeah.
That cuts you. That guts you like Swiss cheese, man.
Well, like think about like when you're like, I mean, I've never hunted before, but think about like people with like knives and cutting meat off the bone. Like he could probably with just his nails cut your all of this off the bone, really like that. It's like that's how sharp they are. Um, but yeah, this whole chase scene was amazing. I love the flip Bucky does to when like he's going in the opposite direction of the motorcycle and
Yep.
he like grabs it, flips it, and turns it and jumps on it and continues
In
to
the
ride
same
it. It was
motion. Yeah.
really impressive.
Yeah.
And then when Black Panther takes off his helmet and shows us T'Challa, and War Machine's like, Your Highness.
Yeah.
I love he like that's not the only time that people say that. Like Steve says it later on in the airport scene. It's like, Your Highness.
But the way War Machine says it was a little. I don't know. I don't want to say it was mocking him, but it was a little something to his tone. You get what I'm saying? Because he's like, Your Highness, but I don't think he likes him. I don't think he likes him initially. I don't
didn't
know
like Rhodey in this movie. Like I didn't like his character at all in this movie. I just felt like he was playing like evil sidekick to Tony.
And Rhodey, but you know,
I love Rhodey in everything else. In everything else, I love even to the end of this movie. I love Rhodey, but it's almost like he got so cocky at the beginning of this movie. So and I think the Russo brothers probably did this on purpose to make him this cocky persona. That way, when he does fall out of the sky and ends up paralyzed from the waist down, it's sort of like almost like a fallen angel, and like that his past like in a metaphor sense, his past sins like made him fall. That way he can rise and be a better person because of this. That's I guess that's the sense you can look at it. But yeah, this was, and look, I love Rhodey, love Don Cheadle, love Rhodey. It literally, we were talking great things about him with Age of Ultron. But yeah, this movie, this like the first like 3/4 of this movie, I'm just like, man, Rhodey, I sometimes I want you to shut up. Like, especially when he's talking to Sam at the beginning, where he's like, he's got a Congressional Medal of Honor. I'm like, shut up, bro. Shut up, bro. What does this have to do with anything, man? That's like having a civil debate, a football debate, and then someone's like, oh, but I got 2 rings. I'm like, shut up.
Right.
Like I bring up all the time. By the way, no. No.
You know, I was gonna just talk about the hypocrisy of you there because, you know, not that you ring check or anything.
I don't need to show 2 rings because I can show 3.
Not not that you ring check or anything. No, not you.
Oh,
no.
I forgot. No. The Eagles won 3 NFL championships in 1948, 49, and 1962.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
I forgot. Oh,
neither you and I were even thought about then.
Silly me.
Neither you and I were even thought about then, but okay. But yeah, let's get back to it. So anyway, it's funny because as Captain America and Sam get back to the hideout with Tony, Tony's like, oh, you can bet there'll be consequences. And not that he's mocking General Ross. But I don't know if you've ever heard your mom do this, but it's kind of like if somebody ever said something to your mom about you, something you did, and I don't want to say she's putting on airs, but she's like, oh yeah, there's going to be consequences. But really, she's going to talk to you because she wants to hear your side. But to them, she's like, oh, you can bet this is going to be.
I was a nice kid, so I was always I was the only child. I was always a polite kid, so like I never got in trouble for anything.
I'm going to mute your mic.
If I ever got in trouble, I put myself in timeout.
I'm going to mute your mic. I'm throwing up in my mouth right now. Anyway, the point is, teacher's pet. The point is that's what Tony's doing. He's like, oh, you can bet there are going to be consequences. And Cap's like, consequences like Rhodey? I mean, he's like, Ross wanted to throw you guys in jail. I had to give him something, right? And then Falcon's like, well, they took my wings and they took your shield. He's like, that's cold. And Tony's like, yeah, it's warmer than jail, though. It's warmer than jail, right? So
not wrong.
He's not wrong about that. But here again, Tony and Cap have what I'd like to call the real discussion here. Because this is where I don't want to say they fall apart, but this is where like we see they're just not going to agree.
Yeah.
And so Cap starts to consider it and says, well, there'd have to be provisions. There'd have to be guardrails. And he's like, Tony's like a car salesman at this point. Yeah. We'll just give him something. Then we'll come back and amend it. It's fine. Because he's just trying to get the deal done. Right. And Cap at this point is about the details. Right. Because let me tell you something. Everything you need to know about a car sale goes down in the finance manager's office. Okay. If you've ever bought a car, you should know finance managers are fork-tongued devils. Mm-hmm. Because here's the thing that they take advantage of. You're excited now because you're in the office, right? So now you are more apt to capitulate to what they want you to agree to because you're relaxed, because the deal's done. We just need to work out a few details. And let me tell you something, Saints fan. I had to do that because you talk about the rings. Let me tell you something, Jordan. The devil's in the details. Mm-hmm. So when you buy a car, it's not, and not that people haggle anymore.
Oh, they do.
They do.
I got family that are salesmen all along. I know how to, and I could sell you a piece of paper. I don't like the sales aspect of business. Because I know I'd be really good at it, and I like to do other things. I like creative stuff. That's why I'm in the marketing side. And when I went to get my car, they wanted me to spend so much money on it, and I'm like, all right, well, let's leave. And I got all my stuff up, and I was walking out the door, and that's when a guy was like, wait.
Wait.
Like, yeah. Wait a minute. Like I know what I need. I know what I can spend. I know what you can spend. You can come down to my level or I'll leave.
Yeah.
That's the way I look at it. But yeah, he is like a car salesman.
Because he's like,
he's just trying to get it done.
We'll get this done. And then he says, all right. And then he says something about Wanda. And he's like, well, of course she'd have to stay there. And he's like, wait a minute. Stay? So she's got to stay on the compound? And it's like, yeah, it's for her safety. It's like, no, Tony, that's internment. And right here is the point where, let me tell you what this is. This is the point where you're about to sign and he says something stupid and you just, throw down the pen because Cap says, hey, I don't want to mess up the set. But he's essentially saying, look, I'm not agreeing to this. I'm not agreeing to this. It just gets worse. That's internment, right? She's a kid. She's a kid. She's barely out of high school herself, even though she's not in real life, but whatever. Yeah. And in this iteration, she's a kid. Okay. But this is where they really begin to fall out. And, Cap leaves, whatever, goes and recruits his guys because they find out that Baron Zemo is going to wherever he's going to. I don't remember, but they find out through talking with Winter Soldier that there are other Winter Soldiers, and they think at this point that his nefarious scheme is that he wants to, obviously activate these other Winter Soldiers. And if you think about what just one can do, 6 of these guys, you really would need the Avengers and probably some help to take them down, right? I'll tell you what else is interesting. It's interesting that Thor and Hulk are not here, because this conflict gets way more interesting if they're here.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
I think Thor clearly would have been on Cap's side, because he doesn't want anyone controlling him. He's a god. He would have been so egotistical with that. And then Banner, I think he would also be Team Cap, because
Right.
I think he already sees Tony's flaws, and with his interactions with Steve, it just seems so apparent that he would have been with Cap's side. And look, if you add Thor and Hulk to this, Cap would have
over. It's
mopped
over.
the floor with them.
It's not
So
even
it
close.
made total sense that they weren't in this.
Yeah,
movie.
no, it did. As a matter of fact, I think Natasha even says that when Tony's like, well, do you know where the Hulk is? And she's like, you think he'd be on our side? And he kind of, he kind of shrugs it off. But I think it was very well planned that they were not there.
Yeah.
Because the conflict is more even.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a better matchup, so to speak.
Yep.
You get what I'm saying? It's not like when my Falcons play your Saints this year. It's a much better matchup. Just saying.
You did this to yourself. You did this to yourself.
Yeah.
You did this to yourself. You did this to yourself.
Is this Thanos? Are you imitating Thanos right now? Is that what this
you
is?
did?
Okay.
You did that to yourself. You did that. You kept going. You kept going. You did that to yourself.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Oh man, I knew this was gonna be fun. All right. So anyway, Zemo is revealed as the bad guy. Unlike traditional villains, Zemo doesn't want to destroy the Avengers physically. He wants to destroy them from within. What we find out is he is from Sokovia, and he lost his father, his wife, and his child in the conflict, and he wants to corrode them from within. And so he is the one who killed the psychologist that would have been talking to Winter Soldier, and he is also the one who impersonated the Winter Soldier and set off the bomb to incite this conflict. Anyway, let's get to it, man. Let's get to what this thing is about. The battle at the airport. Okay, let's get to it, man. Let's get to it. Okay, so I want to let you describe it first, because I've been talking for too long. Give me your thoughts, your descriptions, what you loved about. Let's talk about this battle at the airport. I feel like we should introduce them like a basketball team. You know what I mean? At 6 feet in lifts, we got Iron Man. We got Natasha Romanoff. We got the Vision. We got, oh man, who else was on their side? We got Spider-Man. We got
Black Panther,
and we got War Machine. Okay. Larger than life. We got Captain America. We got Ant-Man. We got Wanda. We got Clint. Who else am I forgetting? Who else is what? We got Falcon, and we got the Winter Soldier. All right. Tip off. Let's go. Jordan, the con is yours, sir. Let's go. What you got?
And I love that this fight starts with like getting the quips out of the way, with Tony specifically, because Tony's like, like, oh, it's crazy how you just run into some people at the airport. And then he gets serious. This is probably the most serious I've ever seen Tony within the MCU. And if you think about how serious of issues have happened with like the Battle of New York, with what happened, the events of Iron Man 3, with Age of Ultron, he just still kept that humor. But in this moment, he's just like, we need to get this done. We need to be held in check. And he's like, you're gonna come over and you're going to, like, we're gonna settle this.
Because it's us.
Yes. And
not a bunch of JSOC guys with no compunction or manners.
And Black Panther comes in, Black Widow comes in, great entrance for Spider-Man and seeing his suit for the first time when Tony's like, all right, I've run out of patience. Under Rouge. And he webs Cap's shield, brings it in, superhero landing. I'm so glad we reviewed Deadpool right before this. With the shield. If you think about how epic that is, that we got Spider-Man in the MCU with the shield finally. And he says, as like, hey everyone, and he's talking about like, oh, thanks, Mr. Stark. Sorry, I think I could have stuck the landing better, but with this, it's a new suit and stuff like that. And Tony's like, hey, save it.
But it's not the suit. I love the suit. It's not. I love the suit.
Yeah. And he's like, come on, kid. Like, stop talking. And then he's like,
hi, Captain America. Big fan. Like he's a
Captain
total.
America.
Like, I was just
Love
perfect. That was perfect. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And so Steve's in the webbing and like sort of like handcuffs. He puts him up. Clint shoots an arrow which gets the webbing out, but also has Ant-Man on it. Ant-Man's on the shield and then gets bigger, taking the shield away, gives it to Captain America, and it's like, I believe this is yours, Captain America. And look, the entire time Ant-Man, like his first interaction with Steve, where he's like, I'm shaking your hand so long. And he grabs Steve by the shoulders, like almost like, you're a massive dude. And then he looks back to Wanda and he's like, you're great too. And Wanda, I love Elizabeth Olsen's face on this, where she's like, oh, thank you. Like, Ant-Man fit perfectly with this side much because he's the comedic relief here.
He did.
And look, we have multiple teams on Steve's side. Steve's side's clearly well coordinated, which, I mean, if you're Captain America, your side's always going to be well coordinated. And it just seems like Iron Man was not well coordinated. That's what makes Captain America the leader of the Avengers, is that he knows how to be a team leader. Right. And you got Sam and Bucky, which, all right, let me just say, with Sam and Bucky's interactions throughout this whole movie are fantastic. I love earlier, right before this scene, when, all right, I'm going to throw up a little in my mouth, when Sharon and Steve kiss. Look, I didn't feel that way initially when I saw this movie, but when you see the events of Endgame and he ends up back with Peggy, it makes me want to throw up in my mouth that he made out with Sharon. It just
because like, Sharon is Peggy's niece. You gotta add that part too. Sharon is Peggy's niece.
Yeah, that's just and
but they are separated by 70 years. I'm just saying.
It doesn't matter. It's blood. Blood is blood. They have this little kiss, and Sam and Bucky are in the car. And after they kiss, Steve looks at them, and they're both shaking their head like, yeah. And then Steve's like, come on, guys. That's
a guy thing.
I love it. It's just so stupid, but and in that scene, I wanted so many more. Like, I almost wanted a whole movie of just the three of them together. Like, I loved their interactions, especially like right before that. Bucky's like, hey, can you move your seat up? And
no.
Sam's like, no. It's so great. I love their interactions.
Or,
Anyway,
or when they're fighting Spider-Man and Sam
Yes,
calls what's
yes.
the little Falcon thing or whatever, and Bucky's like, you couldn't have done that before, and Sam is like,
He's like, I hate you.
I hate you. And
And
they're sitting there. That was funny. That was truly funny.
Spider-Man and a great introduction to this version of Spider-Man with how much he's talking and stuff like that. And he's like Bucky with his metal arm goes to punch Peter, and he grabs that with one hand. He's like, "You have a metal arm?" I'm like, that, but that goes to display this version of Peter. Like, Spider-Man is a strong character, but even at such a young age, like, he's able to hold off a vibranium arm.
Mhm.
That's impressive.
Well, I mean, and what we realize is Spider-Man holds back a lot in his daily life,
Yes.
because as strong as he is,
Yep.
I think Spider-Man and the Hulk fought in the comics, and Spider-Man held his own. So,
Yep.
and this is Hulk. This isn't Professor Hulk. This is I'm pissed off Hulk.
Yes.
So Spider-Man is incredibly strong,
And-
which we see, but it's just great, man. Because he is uncorrupted, and not that Spider-Man was ever corrupt, but he's pure, brand new Spider-Man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just great. And he's fighting him, and who was it? Falcon is like, in fights, we really don't talk that much. We really, there's really not this much talk in a fight.
He apologizes.
Oh, I'm sorry. And then kicks the crap out of him. And that was funny. This was so well done. Anyway, go ahead, my friend. I'm sorry.
Think about that from a big picture perspective. Spider-Man at like 14, 15 years old was able to defeat a super soldier with a vibranium arm and the guy who would become Captain America. Think about that. From big picture. And this is 14, 15-year-old Spider-Man. Like, he's only going to get stronger. And
But
then...
You know who he didn't beat, though? you know who he didn't beat, though? When he was fighting, when he and Cap went at it.
Yes, and that's what I'm going to get to.
Okay.
When
that's one of my favorites.
When, like, he is holding his own against Captain America. But even Tony says in Homecoming, he's like, if Cap wanted to beat you, he would beat you. But like, my standpoint is like, if Spider-Man wanted to beat you, he'd beat you. And he was only 14, 15 years old in this.
Yeah.
Like, imagine, like, I can't imagine, like, if Brand New Day Spider-Man were to be fighting Steve in this moment. Or even Venom symbiote Spider-Man. Like, if he gets the symbiote on him and he's in that state of like Brand New Day. I don't think we'll get the symbiote in Brand New Day, but I think I think we'll get that in Secret Wars or Doomsday. But like, not only is Steve holding back, Peter is holding back. And I think if it came down to it, Peter would win. Maybe not at that age, but I think 120% Peter would win. If it came down to the death, Spider-Man is going to beat Captain America 10 out of 10 times. I mean, you look at what he just did to Bucky. They're both super soldiers. And the difference is the mentality that Steve has. He is just a smarter fighter than Bucky. Well smarter. But Peter is a different animal. He at the end of the day, and even in the comics, like, there's no doubt that Spider-Man would beat Captain America one-on-one. It's because Peter, again, this is 14, 15-year-old. He's going to lose to Captain America. But older, more experienced Spider-Man versus prime Captain America, yeah, I'm going to take Spider-Man 10 out of 10 times.
The funniest part of that concept.
Yes, that's what when he says when he picks up when the I don't know what it is falls on Peter,
The truck
and
cab or whatever,
yes,
or the
and
back of that. Yeah.
Steve says, and Steve's
You
like,
got-
"You got heart, kid. Where you from?" And he says, "Queens." And Steve's like, "Brooklyn." Like that's such a great like interaction.
That
I'm
is
like,
a New York thing. That is a part of New York nomenclature. But the way he does it, he's like,
yeah,
"Yeah, all right, kid, where you from?" He's like, "Queens," and he looks at him like superior, like
Mhm.
Brooklyn, and then the head nod. Oh, it's great! It's great! It's great! It's
and
great. You know what? I'd be interested to talk to New Yorkers to hear what they thought of that. 'Cause I just thought that was great. I thought that was one of the best interactions in this film because it was like, where you from, kid? Queens, and he's like, Brooklyn.
yeah.
Like, you know what it is. You know what it is,
Mhm.
right? I
And-
halfway wanted him to say Biggie, but anyway, whatever.
And then you have other fights going on, not just with Spider-Man, like Black Widow and Hawkeye are fighting, but like they're clearly pulling their punches and stuff
punches,
like that. And
yeah.
even Wanda tells them, like Clint
You're pulling your punches.
Wanda or Natasha's like, we'll still be friends after this, right? And
Friends,
Clint's
right?
like, depends on how hard you hit me.
Right, right.
And they're fighting and stuff, and then Wanda comes in, pushes Natasha off, and says, "You're pulling your punches." And I love Clint in this movie is hilarious. Clint's retired, and then he's just like, guys pulled me into this. Then you have Black Panther and Clint meet, and Clint's like I don't think we've met. I'm Clint, and Black Panther's like, I don't care.
Like, he's over it. He's like, I don't care. That was funny. I don't care.
But I mean, it all comes, and then there's the face-to-face fight. Like, there's the initial fighting and stuff like that, but then Vision shows up, and they're having that running scene.
He draws a line in the sand, right? He's like, "Stop! You're not going right here." And Vision says to Cap, "I know you think what you're doing is right, right?" And yeah, they get after it, man. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Keep going.
And they like just being able to see this happen. I was like, this is so fun, but I don't want this to happen. Like, I thought to myself, if this would, because all right, throughout my time of watching the MCU, I had thought, at any point this can end. And just because of like studio interference or writing or people or just actors backing out and stuff like that. Like, I thought, if this is how the MCU ends, I'm going to be so upset.
Right.
Like, this is not how I want it to end. And I like so direly, I wanted Infinity War more than I wanted Endgame. Because I didn't want this to be the way that the MCU ends. And that's what, and I'd always worried about that because this is such a risky movie to do. Right. Because you have to set up something bigger.
Jordan,
are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me? Okay. Yeah. All right. No, I didn't want to cut you off. Okay, so they realize in the conflict, Falcon says to Captain America, "You guys go. Not all of us are going to make it." And either him or it may have been Clint said that, sometimes if you're going to win, certain parts of you have to lose. And he's like, "Look, we're not all going to make it out." So they make a plan. And this is when Ant-Man grows to like 50 feet or whatever. And they're fighting. And Spider-Man says, "Hey, you guys remember that really old movie, Empire Strikes Back?" And War Machine says, "How old is this kid?" And Tony goes, "I don't know. I didn't really get a chance to vet him, whatever." And he's like, "Remember they did it with the leg thingies and they tripped him up and they did this?" And Tony's like, "The kid may be onto something." And so Spider-Man wraps up Ant-Man's legs. And then, of course, Tony and Rhodey end up punching Ant-Man and knocking him out. And they're like, "Woohoo!" And Wanda is already at the Quinjet. Captain America and Winter Soldier arrive there. And she's like, guys, I didn't want to do this, but here we are. And she begins to fire her whatever weapon she had. Hey, Claire Bear, how are you? No, not today. Come here, sweetie. Give me a hug. Hey, you okay? Yeah. All right, here. Claire wants to make an appearance. Say hi, Claire.
Hi, Claire.
Look at the camera, Claire Bear. At the camera. You got to look up at the camera right there. Or no, it's right there, actually.
Hi.
Say hi. Okay. Hi. All right, now you got to go. Mwah. Yeah, you got to go.
Do you have any jelly?
I don't, sweetie. I don't have any jelly. Okay, I'm so sorry.
I was trying to make a peanut butter jelly sandwich, and I did get the peanut butter, but
so there's jelly in the refrigerator in the garage, but you're not going to be able to reach it. So just get somebody to reach it for you. Is Maya here?
Oh no, but
is Jonah here?
No, she has Saturday school.
Oh, okay. Well, who's here?
Jaden.
Okay.
He's getting ready.
Okay. Is Mama here?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, I tell you what. Give me a few minutes, and I'll go down and get it for you. Okay. But I don't have any jelly in here. Give me a few minutes. I'll be down. Okay. All right.
I want peanut butter jelly sandwich.
Yeah, I know, sweetie. Go ahead. Give me a few minutes. I'll be down. All right. Sorry about that. Gotta be onk. Okay. Golly, she scares me. She's so quiet in her movie. You know what I mean? She's like a superhero. I did not hear her come in, and all of a sudden she just shows up, and I'm like, wait a minute. Okay. Anyway,
I do that at work. There's people like I'm so light on my feet, and people will look back and be like, "Oh, I didn't know you were there." I'm like, I wasn't like I'm a big dude. Like I mean, I'm not like the biggest dude in the world. I'm not a small dude, but I'm like a big dude. So it's like, all right, I didn't know you. I do that all the time. I did that on work 3 times on Friday alone. Damn. It happens all the time. I'm just really light on my feet, and I'm really quick with my movements. Yeah.
Damn. Okay. I don't know. Well, I guess she's light on it because I did not. I'm sitting up here. I'm like, okay. What are you doing? So anyway, whatever. But what the hell okay. Yeah. So anyway, Wanda shows up, and this is important. This is important in the film because Black Panther is behind Steve and Bucky, and they don't see him, and she fires this weapon to keep him at bay, and she says to him, well, I told you I knew where they were. I didn't tell you I'd help you capture them, but this is her being Mama Bear. Now, I don't think that she intended to do this before this whole thing started, but because of the way it played out, I think she assessed that if there's a way for anybody to prove this innocent, I can't let Steve and or Bucky be captured. And so she makes the decision to do that, but she's not being a double agent here. She's looking out for the Avengers.
Yep.
Right? Those are my thoughts. Give me your thoughts on that particular moment.
Yeah, I mean, I had always, I mean, you are 100% right. I think she's just looking out for the Avengers. I mean, this is her family. Like, and she makes that abundantly clear in Endgame. Like, this is her family. Which is again why I'm so glad we're watching it in this order, where you watch Black Widow immediately after this, because it makes Black Widow that much better. And because that's all she cares about right now. She doesn't want to see her family broken up, and that's what ends up happening. And ends up screwing over the whole universe basically because of the events of this movie.
Yeah. And Thanos and what is to come. But so they skedaddle, they get out of there. And what else is interesting is we see that in this moment, Vision is talking to Wanda, and he's like, I told you, catastrophe. But he's falling in love with her, and so he's distracted. And we see it because Rhodey is like, hey, I got this guy on my tail, and you see Vision just kind of look up and just fire because Vision is so accurate. If Vision is concentrating, he's there's no way he ends up hitting Rhodey. And not that he fired inaccurately, but he fired in a way that Falcon had time to move out of the way.
Mhm.
Whereas normally Vision is so accurate, Vision would have fired where he was going or where he would have moved. He wouldn't have been able to avoid the whatever projectile or whatever Vision fired at him. And he does in this instance. It hits Rhodey. Rhodey tells Tony, "Hey, I'm firing dead stick," and we see Rhodey crash. Now, in the real world, Rhodey would have been dead. Okay,
Yes.
he would have been dead.
Yeah.
Okay, he fell 300 feet at least in the air. He'd have been dead and stinky. Okay, need to say this because there's no way. Look it. If you jump into a body of water at 80 feet, you're dead. If you hit anything at 300 feet, you're dead. Every bone in your body is broken. You probably sever your spleen. You're dead. Okay? But in this case, obviously.
And I hated that they spoiled that in the trailer. I absolutely hated that. Because it's like, all right, your thought is, okay, he's either going to be dead or paralyzed.
Right.
Like, why do you show that in the trailer? Why would you do that? You couldn't have given us a different visual of like, oh, someone's going to get hurt.
Yeah.
Like, no, of all the marketing of this movie, that part I hated the most.
Yeah. No, that's fair. That's fair. But Sam descends to the ground and says, "I'm sorry," and Tony's like, "Psh." Eddie. It wasn't funny, but Tony's clearly pissed. Like he's like, "I don't want to hear your damn sorry." Bam, right? And he again, he exercises restraint. He doesn't, because Tony could have hit him with something that would have really hurt him, but he doesn't, because he realizes it was an accident. But he's still pissed, and he's like, "I don't want to hear you're sorry. Shut up," and knocks him out. The sound effect was free, by the way. It was yours truly. It was free. There you go. But anyway, so of course, Cap's team, with the exception of Cap and Winter Soldier, are taken into custody. They are taken on this floating prison. Not even this floating prison, but this prison can submerge. It's a watercraft / prison / whatever you want to call it. They're taken there. Tony arrives and he disables the cameras because he now got information after the conflict that, you know what, it wasn't Winter Soldier that blew up the UN at all. It was Baron, was it Zemo?
Baron Zemo,
right?
Yeah.
Baron Zemo. What's that fish? Branzino? Is it Branzino?
Branzino.
Yeah, I always think of that when I think of Baron Zemo. I don't know why, but anyway. It was Baron Zemo that did it, and so he's on this way to this prison where they have other Winter Soldiers, and so Captain America and Winter Soldier make their way there. As Tony boards the prison craft, whatever it is, he and Clint have an exchange, and Tony's well, you knew what you were doing. You're an adult, da 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 da. And Clint's like, "Yep, that's Tony. Da 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 da. Watch out for your back." And I don't know that Clint and Tony were the best of friends anyway.
Yeah.
And you see this in Ultron when Clint is trying to pick up the hammer and he can't. And then Tony's like, "All right, let me try." And he's like, "Okay, Stark." But he calls him Stark. He doesn't call him Tony. He's like, "Okay, Stark." But you hear in his tone, I don't want to say content, but I don't think he likes Tony as a person. That's just me. I could be wrong. And this isn't going to do anything to help it. But anyway, Tony and Falcon have a quick conversation. Tony disables the cameras. Falcon tells Tony where they're going. And Tony leaves the helicopter as Iron Man on his way to meet Cap and Winter Soldier and Baron Zemo and Black Panther, unbeknownst to him, in the final conflict. And so, you know, Tony arrives there. Cap and Tony kind of make peace. Cap says, happy to see you, Tony. Tony says, happy to see you. And everything is okay, or so we think. And they arrive in the main lair lobby or whatever this structure is. And Baron Zemo just has the tape available, lets Tony see it and play it. And Tony finds out that Winter Soldier killed his parents. Now, you and I had a discussion about this a couple of weeks ago, and it has been on my mind ever since. And I've waited to this moment to say this to you. So if you're watching this, we didn't discuss this. This is live. Now, you said that the Russo brothers said that the reason that Cap could not lift the hammer was because at that time he was not worthy, because he knew of the secret and did not disclose it to Tony. This is what they said. My question to you is, when did he find out?
My guess is, I mean, you remember that file that Nick Fury gives, or I don't remember if it's Nick Fury or Natasha gives him at the end of Winter Soldier?
Yes.
On Bucky. My guess is probably then. That's my bit. There's a long period of time where he could have found out in trying to get Bucky, and they've probably had conversation. They could have had conversation. You think? I mean, they literally had a conversation where he's like, "Remember that lady you're trying to get like a stuffed animal for at the carnival?" And he's like, "Yeah, what was her name? Dorothy. You called her Dot." And he's like, and Bucky's love this interaction. Bucky's like, she's probably like 100 years old right by now, and Steve's like, so are we, pal. I love it. Like it's possible they had conversations like him telling Steve, like, hey, like I heard a lot of people. One of them was Tony's parents. Simple as that. But they obviously are not going to show that on screen because for dramatic tense, they'll show it at this moment. So yeah, my guess is it could have been in the file, and they could have been talked about it.
Okay. So this is the moment when their friendship at that point is severed.
Yeah.
Because and you know, I've been thinking about ever since, you know, we said we were going to do this. This entire week I've been thinking about this moment and turning it over in my mind. And Jordan, you and I are both very close to our moms. I'm still close to my mom, even though she's no longer with us. But I gotta imagine in that moment, if that was my mom, I'm kicking Steve's ass. Okay, I don't care. You know what I mean? And I know that it put Steve in a position where I know it put him in a bad position. But if I'm being honest, you killed my mama. We got to fight, Jordan. We got to fight. Give me your thoughts. If you're Tony in this scenario, what are you doing?
Well, I want to first by starting off to say, because everybody's like, why is this called Captain America Civil War? This is why it's called Captain America Civil War, because he has two sides of Captain America, Tony and Bucky.
Yep.
And he doesn't know even though it's very abundantly clear what side he's on.
Yep.
There's a part of him that's divided.
Right.
In that.
Because Tony is his friend. Tony is very much his friend. And
it also makes it abundantly clear who is right in all of this by just who's the movie about.
Right.
But and I think if they wanted to make it more of a who's right, who's wrong, they would have called this just Civil War or Captain America and Iron Man Civil War, something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Or Avengers Civil War.
But look, I understand why Tony's upset in this moment, and he's on, and I think everybody would probably be in Tony's shoes, but I think he just maybe needs to time needs to pass. Time needed to heal, and
Yeah,
the
that's
events of
true.
Infinity
That's
War and Endgame happened, and that's when he was able to move on.
Yeah. No, that's
So I don't think he fully moved on at the beginning of Endgame when Tony and Steve see each other for basically for the first time since Civil War. They like after this we won't see these two interact until Endgame.
Yeah.
So and even then they were kind of like still butting heads about not this but just different viewpoints and stuff like that like
Yeah.
we could have stopped this.
Right. Not until they went back in time to the 70s, and he's like, "Do you trust me?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Do you trust me?" He's like, "Yeah." And that would at that point it was squashed.
Yes.
And it's kind of sad, but this is this is that moment there, because and I just watching it, I felt so they did such a great job of it, because you understand both sides. I understand why Steve, at the beginning of this conflict, you can't say to Tony, "Oh, and by the way, he killed your parents." What?
Yeah.
You can't do that.
It's nothing like the whole Loki and Odin thing in terms of like telling Loki his. I'm pointing that out as like one option that like yeah, Odin and Loki knew each other for thousands of years, but that's a father-son relationship. They should be able to communicate about that. But like this is such a touchy subject. You can't bring that up. That is you go to your grave not telling Tony. Like, and you can never, ever fully communicate about this, whether you are the two most emotionally intelligent beings ever, because you are just not going to be able to talk about this ever.
There's no right way to tell him that.
Yeah.
And there's no version in which if you tell him this, that he is not going to be pissed at you for a very long time. And it fractures the trust between them. And then it's like, then Tony gets really mean. And not so much in what he does. They fight, there's a conflict. It's a great fight. You hate to see it, but it's a great fight. I mean, they get after it. And there's a part doing this where when it's about to end and Steve just kind of lets loose because he's tired of it. He's trying to end it. And Friday says to Tony, "You can't beat him in hand-to-hand combat." And Tony says, "Okay, then study him and do this."
Boo! Boo! That was a cop-out. I to this day, I hate that so much. Such a cop-out. I hate Tony. You're so egotistical, bro. I hate you. Analyze his fight patterns. Bro, really?
He was mad because he killed his mama.
No, nothing to do with that anymore. Nothing to do with that anymore. It's completely side note. Look, that your cop out's gonna be like analyze his fight patterns.
Bro, he killed his mama.
No. This has nothing to do with that. The fact that he has that in his suit in the first place, regardless of situation, is the biggest cop out that I could find from Iron Man.
That's not a cop out. You better have it. What if you roll up against somebody that you just can't beat? You better have it.
Find a way.
Bruh.
Find a way.
That's the way.
That's literally all of but that's how Iron Man is. But Iron Man's whole purpose in all three of his movies, all the Avengers movies, is he's able to do stuff off the dome. Out of nowhere, off the dome. That's what makes him such a great character.
Right.
And by doing this, there's nothing off the dome. It's such a cop out.
That's a Batman move, though. That's a break glass in case of emergency.
Exactly my point. Exactly why I just don't. I'm like, that's such a cop out. Like the difference is Batman always has a backup plan for everything.
Yeah.
But Iron Man's not that way at all. And so he's got his backup plan is analyze his fight patterns. Bro, stop it. You're so copping out of this whole thing. Of the whole fight, that's my least favorite part. I see memes of this to this day where people are making fun of Tony being like, he knew he was going to lose, so he had to pull out some analyze his fight patterns. I'm like, and even then, even doing so, he still lost.
He did. Well, but that shows you just how prodigious of a fighter Cap is. Because Cap is like, okay, you know, he starts beating him or whatever, and then Cap gets the best of him, takes his shield, and crushes the battery source, which is the thing in his chest. And then he says something to Cap, and it hurt me. And it hurt me because he said it, and that was kind of the end of that friendship at that moment. But he says, you don't deserve to wear that shield. My father made that shield. And what he's saying is, by you not telling me that secret, you betrayed me and my dad. You knew my dad. You don't deserve to wear that shield. And that was just, I understand he was mad. And I understand that when we're mad and when we're hurt, we say things that we don't necessarily mean. But that was so mean. And you know what? Because Steve is who Steve is, Steve could have been like, F you, and took it, but Steve left it there. And even in that act, to me, Jordan, that is a statement of friendship. Because he could have took the shield with him. But he said, you know what? You want the shield? You have it. But here you go. Take it.
But with Steve also, Steve has always made it abundantly clear in the first two movies that he's more than the shield. And
right.
We see that. I mean, we see the whole first movie is basically he doesn't need the shield. It's
right.
It's just it's just to be there. And in the second movie, we literally open up with his first fight. He's like, I thought you were more than a shield, and he drops the shield and goes hand in hand with the dude.
Let's go.
We all know, as an audience, we all know Steve is more than that shield. Yeah. And that he doesn't need that shield. So in that moment, Steve's like, all right, whatever, man. Take the shield. I don't care. He never cared about the shield.
I think it was deeper than that. I think Steve being Steve, I think Steve was like, I'm going to let you have this.
Yeah.
I just beat you up. I'm going to let you have this.
He's letting him have it because it's like I think Tony thought that shield was this like big part of him.
No, I think Tony's just mad here, right? It's like it's I'm being petty, but it's like if you break up with somebody. Well, God, you give me back that album. You didn't buy that. You didn't buy that T-shirt with Prince on it. I want my Prince shirt back. It's a damn $20 shirt, bro. But you're saying it to be hurtful because you're hurt and you want to take something back in that moment. And what I'm saying is, I think Steve just gave it to him because he's like, here you go. I recognize that I probably should have told you this. I'm wrong. I'm sorry. Because Steve even says to him, but he's my friend. And Tony says to him, and so was I. Yeah. So was I. Right? And people are so hurtful with their words. And I get that Tony's upset. I really do. And he has every right to be upset. But let me tell you something. I don't know that I would have fallen out with Steve about that. We'd have fought, okay? We definitely would have fought. But I don't know that I would have gone as far as to say, you never deserved that shit. Like, that's hurt. Excuse me. That's hurtful. That's because he knew Tony's dad, right? He knew Tony. So, you know, he's not only friends with you, he was friends with your father.
Yep.
You get him? That's a hell of like, that's just me. And I again, I get you in your feelings. I get you hurt. And I'm not even saying he should. I'm not judging him because I'm not there. You know what I mean? Because had that been my mama, I probably would have been upset too. I probably would have said some hurtful stuff. I would have said the meanest shit I can think of. And you kick my ass? Oh, nah, dog. I'm not going to let you just get away. I got to say something. I got to say something. So, I don't know. But anyway, I like you were saying you hated to see them fight. I really hated this moment
It's
because
heartbreaking.
in this moment you recognize their relationship is never going to be the same. You know what I mean? Their relationship is never going to be the same.
And one quick side note during this whole fight, because obviously this is a pretty big part of what happens in like Infinity War, Endgame, and Falcon and the Winter Soldier, is that Bucky ends up losing his arm from a repulsive blast or whatever they're called from Tony's chest.
Right.
Which from that moment forward, it's like we realize like Bucky loses his arm, his metal arm, and we're like, oh, like things could happen here. And that's when we realize the stakes are very high right now. And we even hear the dramatic music playing, and we get the iconic shot from the comics where Tony's using his blasts on Cap's shield.
Yeah,
a beautiful shot, one of the most iconic shots in all of Marvel movies or comics.
Yeah, it really is, man. It really is. I just, oh, what a just a great movie. And then, and what I thought was first class. We see as Cap is rescuing his friends from the island of, you know, the whatever prison, the aquatic prison. Let's just call it that because it has the capability of submerging. But as Cap is rescuing them from that, we see that he writes. No, wait a minute. I gotta take a step back because there was a funny moment that happened leading up to that. So Tony and Tony's helping Rhodey with his new legs, and Rhodey falls down, and Rhodey's like, you know, it's a bad beat, but I wouldn't change a thing, man. I felt like it was the right thing to do. I did it. This is Rhodey not feeling sorry for himself. This is Rhodey taking accountability for what he needs to do going forward. And it's a light moment between the two, but these men, singular and plural, are the best of friends. And so, you know, it was a little moment there. But then what happens is Stan Lee shows up and he says, I have a package for Tony Stank. And Rhodey goes, oh yeah, Tony Stank is here. Thank you for that. I needed that. Oh, he's going to be Tony Stank forever now. It was so funny the way they did that. It was a very good moment because it's kind of a heavy moment between he and Tony. Mm-hmm. And then he's like, and Rhodey even says, thank you for that. I needed that, right? And Tony opens the letter. And I think what's a very classy move, Cap writes a letter to him saying, look, man, I appreciate you, Tony. I consider you a friend. I understand you're being upset. You have every right to be upset. This is why I did what I did. But just know if you ever need me, I'll be here. All you have to do is call. And I thought that was first class. I really did. Now Tony is mad, and again, he has a right to be upset. But I like that move. And I feel like it's something that Cap would do. So anyway, those are my thoughts. Give me your thoughts on that last scene, Jordan.
Well, I do want to touch on Zemo and his end and Black Panther. It ultimately ends Black Panther's whole story arc of this movie and going forward into his movie. So Black Panther's there almost as like revenge to try and kill Zemo, but then he realizes Zemo I love when a villain and a hero just sit down and have a conversation about things. Yeah. This scene is so powerful. Like Black Panther wants to get revenge, and Zemo just wants to off himself. And they have this conversation, and like Black Panther basically summarizes the whole movie in terms of like vengeance is consuming them. It's consuming you. I'm done letting it consume me. And that's when his claws retract or not detract. And Zemo says like something like, tell that to the dead. And as he's about to pull up the gun to shoot himself, Black Panther makes a quick move. I mean, he's got quick reflexes and because he's got a vibranium suit, blocks the bullet and says the dead are the
living
living
are
aren't
not
done with
done
you.
with you.
I'm like,
That was great.
the dialogue in that whole scene is so incredible.
That was great.
But yeah, getting to Tony and Rhodey, I like Rhodey's always been a soldier. Just like that's his just mentality. So yeah, he's going to say like I wouldn't change anything. It's very similar to like any military person who goes through war and has like amputees and stuff like that. Most of them end up saying I wouldn't change a thing.
Right.
And that's just the level of respect that like Rhodey has. And yeah, I love that letter that Steve writes for Tony.
Yeah.
And he also throws in a phone, which we'll
See
talk
later.
about that at a later movie.
Yep.
And so just keep that in mind. Tony has that phone. And yeah, having that conversation, Steve breaks everyone out of the raft. And yeah, that's how we have the closing shot of this movie. And then in the end credits, we find out that Bucky is going to be put under ice in Wakanda, which is very important going forward. He's put under ice. That way they can study and figure out what's going on with his brain to try and help him rehabilitate him from the whole Winter Soldier persona. And Steve's like, they'll try and get him, and T'Challa's like, let them come. And I'm like, this dude's just such a boss. I love it.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is such a fantastic movie.
That's the one thing I hate about. Well, there's lots that I hate about him passing, but that is one thing I hate about him passing is that we do not get to see T'Challa and Submariner go at it. Because let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. In the comics, they get after it.
Yeah.
And even though in the Black Panther, sequel where they do get after it, it's not the same with Shuri as it would be with T'Challa. It's just not.
Yeah.
So because when he says when he says, let them come. Boy. Oh man. It's sad. But anyway, whatever. We got to rate this thing. So
yes, we do.
I love this movie.
Mm-hmm.
It is one of my favorite movies. I love Captain America. I love him as a person. I love him as an ideal. I think if there was anybody that you should pattern yourself after, for me, it's Captain America. I identify with with Batman because Batman is probably the most flawed individual that's ever been a superhero. But the guy that I would pattern myself after would be Captain America. Mm-hmm. I really like what he's about. And I think all three movies are great. And this is a rare feat where each one of them got even better. Now, I hate to say that Captain America Civil War is better than Winter Soldier because I love me some Winter Soldier. I can watch that movie. Yeah. I love that movie. I love that soundtrack. I love that in general. But if I'm being honest, I probably love that just a little bit more. Give me 1 sec. I'm sorry. Sorry about that. I'm gonna have to decline, buddy. But Jordan, I thought long and hard about this last night. I thought long and hard about it today because I was like, oh, I gotta rate this. And Jordan, I have to give this. I gotta give this a 9.5.
9.5.
And I have to put it above Spider-Man 2 and just under. You know what? No. I have to give this a 10 because if it's better than Winter Soldier,
I was gonna say. Wait, I was like, wait, all right.
10 out of 10. No, I looked at. I forgot where I rated Winter Soldier. Yeah, I gotta give this a 10 out of 10. Mm-hmm. I love this movie. I don't like where it took it. I don't like the end result, but I like the fact that they discussed what they needed to discuss, because very much so, if you have a team of of Earth's mightiest heroes, this in reality would come up. There would be very much so a conflict about this. But I loved it. I loved the execution. I loved the characters. I love the way Black Panther was introduced. I love the way Spider-Man was introduced. I have nothing bad to say about this film. It's a 10 out of 10 for me. What say you, sir?
So, all right, you have 10 out of 10. So, and you said better than Winter Soldier. Now, which is better, the Avengers or the first Avengers movie?
Of course,
Civil War?
Avengers. Of course,
Okay.
Avengers. Of course. Avengers started it all.
Yeah.
There will never be any movie better than that one. But yeah, I got to give that a 10 out of 10.
All right. All right. I love this movie. Love this movie so much. I'm really set on my score for this. And this is, it's not a 10 out of 10 for me. I mainly because when it comes to the political aspects of this movie, that I just don't care to. Like I said, I don't care too much about politics. I understand them in this and how important it is. It's just I don't care too much about that.
Right.
And another aspect, a huge aspect for me, is I don't care about Baron Zemo as the villain. I just don't care. Mainly because we've gotten such great villains before and after this that are not only strategic, because everybody's like, oh, but look how smart he is and strategic he is. Yeah, Ultron was too. Thanos was too.
Mm-hmm.
And they were still prestigious fighters.
Yeah.
So I just think Zemo has always just been a good villain for me. I've never put him in that top tier at all. Right. Even though a lot of people do. Those are the only two aspects of this film I have anything negative to say about. I love everything else about this film, the dialogue, the action, the deeper meaning and the emotions, the characters, everything else about this film, and I love it. It's such a team, and it's a dividing movie. It creates questions, and I love it. Every single time I watch this, I always like to see the viewpoints of different characters, and it allows for all of these characters to have their own opinions.
Yeah.
And that's something that a lot of teen movies just don't do. Right. We really sit down and allow these characters to develop before our eyes. And every single one of these characters develops in this movie and has a character arc throughout this movie. Mm-hmm. So for me, I gave it a 9.5 out of 10. It is, in fact, the highest rated 9.5 movie at all. At all. Any genre, anything is the highest rated 9.5 movie that I will give. But yeah, 10 out of 10 is, again, a reserved section. I don't put Civil War in that necessarily, but it's always the closest to that. Yeah, I love this movie.
Yep, and that's pretty much what I figured you'd give it. But yeah, man, 9.5. Again, it's a great movie. This was so much fun doing the prep work for it. Like it wasn't work at all. And I mean, look, we love doing this, but there's certain movies to where it's just a privilege to do it. Like it's easy. It's not hard because it's just so easy to watch. I love this movie, man. I love this movie. I think it was great. It's unfortunate because it will set up some bad juju to follow in some other movies. But, again, it happened. It is what it is. I think the Russo brothers did a great job of doing this. And I feel like if you strip away the superhero aspect of it, this is an Oscar-winning film. So, at least for me. But, hey, man, we got to keep this thing going. Tomorrow, we have Black Widow. And looking forward to that. So, hey, to everybody who joined us, we appreciate you. You could have been anywhere in the world. We just thank you for joining us. And thank you for giving us, hey, man, a place where we can talk about Marvel, which is what we love, and specifically the MCU. So, my guy, I will see you tomorrow. I'm super excited about getting into Black Widow and her origin story because Mama Bear deserves her origin story and how it went down. And super excited that we get to talk about it tomorrow. You guys have an amazing day, amazing weekend, and we'll see you tomorrow. Goodbye, everybody.
This movie was about
Lights, camera, action is going down. For my ATL movies, when we run this town with your host, T-Will, yeah, keeping it real. From the A to the screen, you can feel the thrill. Rolling with the classes, we're setting the pace. Highlighting the magic of our soulful space. Got the vibe, got the crew, making it tight. When the screen lights up, everything feels right. Grab your popcorn, let's make it loud. T-Will, T-Will. It's movie time, ATL style. Stand proud. From the silver screen to the hearts we steal. T-Will, T-Will. Every frame we capture is a real deal. Yeah. Talking premieres where the stars align. ATL views, yeah, they really shine. Behind the lens.